First up this morning, kids and technology. A national survey now shows 85% of kids nationwide have age 14 to 17 have a cell phone. The average age that most kids get their first phone is 10.3 years old, which definitely seems young.
Yeah, I think it's way too young. But with that comes a lot of responsibility and vulnerability. So Dr. Melissa Westendorf is a clinical psychologist and one of the co-founders of the Technology Wellness Center. She's here to help parents have the important conversation about sexting. And it happens, right?
Yes, it does happen. And I thought a lot of kids got new phones for Christmas, so maybe this might be a good time to have these conversations.
Well, I think
out of the box.
There's a lot of people who know what that is out there, but there's a lot of grandparents watching today that don't know what that is. So how do you explain sexting?
Sure. So sexting can either be talking about sexual acts or sexual behaviors, or it could be naked images or nude images between two people.
Sending pictures.
Yes.
Yes, which keep in mind, you think people are deleting them because I know there's social apps,
or
you know, where they explode or disintegrate into the universe, but they stick around and people screenshot them. All right, we're going to break it down by age, some of your advice. But first, are there some results you're aware of or statistics about sexting? Because clearly, most young people have a phone.
Right, right. And in fact, in high schoolers, it's about 92% have a phone. So it is, they did this, looked at like 39 studies, and it's about 1 in 8 or 1 in 7, 15% of kids are sexting. Now, the positive...
That sounds low.
It sounds low. The positive part is it tends to be the older kids, so maybe more in high school, kids who are in relationships or dating or flirting, rather than the younger kids who are getting phones. So that's good.
Okay.
But we still have to talk about, you know, what's going on. The part that I actually thought was a little scarier is that approximately 12% admitted to forwarding a sext to a third party.
Yeah.
You know, so that's the problem, because now it's out of your...
between two people.
You do, right.
It's not, especially like when it's unwanted or if somebody's trying to show off.
Right.
I mean, these are not private things, and people need to know that they should be kept private. This isn't for
absolutely.
social media.
Absolutely, and you get a breakup and people get angry at each other. You know, you just can't predict that.
So let's start with younger kids and what your advice is with them as parents, starting the conversation, having the conversation.
Right, so with young kids, it's be simple and absolute. You know, we tell them you don't get in a car with a stranger, right? That's just absolute. There's no wavering about it. Same thing here. You don't talk to a stranger online. You don't take a picture of yourself in your underwear or naked and send it to somebody. If you get a text that has a naked picture or somebody asking you, you tell mom and dad immediately. You don't have to go into all the details about why. You just say, these are the absolute rules. And that keeps it simple for kids.
I like that.
How about for the older kids? Because I think this is where it gets a little harder.
Right, it gets more nuanced. Parents tend to want to go to the worst case scenario. And I mean, I can be susceptible to that too. You're not going to get into college. You're not going to get a scholarship.
Oh,
okay?
right.
But let's back up.
Fear-based,
Fear-based, right. So let's back up and say, what if? What would you do if somebody sent you a sext that you didn't want? Or what if somebody asked you to send a sext or a picture? You know, so get them thinking about what would they do. It's kind of like how we practice fire drills in schools or in buildings. We do it because in that moment of panic, if a real fire occurs, we know what to do.
It reminds me of safe driving too, because I've recently had this conversation with my son who's now getting in the car with people who are new to having a driver's license. And it's just like, what are examples of things you could say if you're uncomfortable? And I don't overdo the conversation either. And I think that's a key with talking to kids, is that you can't go on and turn it into a lecture. You have the conversation. Yes, and maybe you have it a couple of times.
Right.
You know,
and
but you keep it short.
Another thing along those lines is use the media then to incorporate it. So I read a great article about the head Nebraska football coach who said he goes through all that stuff, and if he has kids who are saying, you know, inappropriate things back when they were in high school, he won't look at them. You know, and so you can incorporate it's in the now, right? It's in the media, and that can help those conversations just be normal.
Do parents have to worry if their kids are doing it, that there's something wrong with their child?
No, you got to think about, this is just another form of sexual exploration that, you know, we didn't have back when we were growing up, and it's kind of the marrying of those two, the development of those processes. So it's not true that kids are more depressed or lonely that are doing this.
Or more advanced?
Or more advanced. What they actually find is that it affects kids differently. So boys, it goes to social status, and for girls, they tend to be a little more distressed because they either feel the pressure to do it, like if they don't do it, they're prudish, or if they do it, what if somebody sees it and then they start shaming them for what they've done, even though a lot of kids are doing it.
Yeah, and as related to the shaming, I've heard it often happening to girls. There's little to none as it relates to boys, and there's a big sexual discrepancy between the genders, which I think is very unfortunate and sort of a double standard.
Even though they're both doing it at equal rates. I know, and it mirrors what happens in adulthood too for men and women in the gender.
Absolutely, so people can get more information. They can review this segment on themorningblend.com. The Technology Wellness Center has a website as well.
Thanks,
Great
Melissa.
to see you.
Thanks. Nice
Thank
to
you
see
so
as
much.
well.